Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 at 2021 virtual exhibit presentation. My name is Catherine Blackmer-Reyes, and I am the librarian and director of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library's Africana, Asian American, Chicano, and Native American Studies Center. Thank you for joining us this evening as we celebrate and explore the oldest living art in the world, Chinese brush painting, in today's most contemporary technological format, virtual reality. Before we begin, I just want to mention this presentation will include a demonstration and an opportunity to ask questions to our guests. This presentation is being recorded and live captioning is available. Check on the live transcript link at the bottom of your Zoom window. As we reach the end of the program, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, use the Q&A function, and select all attendees when submitting questions. I now welcome Emily Chan, Associate Dean for Research and Scholarship at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library. Emily.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm really excited to see this presentation and to see a live demonstration. One of the things that I wanted to just emphasize to the group is that this is such a wonderful program, and it marries the humanities and in a digital component. And most recently, King Library, as well as SJSU Library and the College of Humanities and the Arts, received an NEH Challenge grant, and we will be creating a digital humanities center at San Jose State. So we're really excited about this opportunity. It's a challenge grant, so we are hoping to raise $375,000, which will be matched by the NEH. So we're hoping to really jumpstart a lot of our efforts in the next 5 years. So, and to really create this Digital Humanities Center, which will help to bring other wonderful projects like this to fruition.
Yes. Thank you, Emily. This is certainly an exciting project or grant opportunity, and the work that we're doing just happens to fit in. And so that's exciting that that work like this is being highlighted in this new NEH grant effort with the College of Humanities and Arts. But now let's officially open our program with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we are meeting on today as the traditional home of the Puujon Ohlone speaking people and the present day of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. The Puujon Ohlone were missionized into both Mission Dolores and Santa Clara. The present day Muwekma Ohlone tribe is comprised of all known surviving Native American lineages aboriginal to the San Francisco Bay region, who trace their ancestry through the missions San Jose, Santa Clara, and Dolores with the historic federally recognized Verona Band of Alameda County. The San Jose State University community recognizes the importance of this land to the indigenous Muwekma Ohlone people of this region, and consistent with our principles of community and diversity, strives to be good stewards on behalf of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, whose land we occupy. We take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land. Again, welcome. My name is Catherine Blackmer-Reyes, the director of the ACNA Center at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library. When Dr. Bobby McConney approached me in 2019 with this family exhibit of painted lanterns for 2020, I was excited to welcome yet another Chan Lin exhibit in my center. While the physical exhibit would have been an exciting and exuberating experience, the VR platform provides for a new dimension for an up-close look at the artistry created by the Chan Lin family. I am honored that Dr. McConney and Dr. Felix Lim for sharing their work and for bringing their cultural art to this VR environment. In this presentation, you will hear about Chinese culture through the lens of Chinese brush painting. Before we start the presentation, I want to first thank my library partners, Leslie Seacrest, Mariah Ramsauer, and John Oakes, who supported the idea and vision to move this exhibit from a physical exhibit to the VR platform. And now let's get to the art. Please welcome Dr. Felix Lim and Dr. Bobby McConney.
Can everyone hear me now? I always need to ask that, especially when I'm known. I don't want to be talking and then no one's going to be hearing me, but thank you so much. Before we start, I just wanted to thank our partners at the library, Dr. Kathy Blackman-Reyes and Dr. Emily Chan, Mariah, Leslie, and John for making all of this possible. I mean, it's been a year in the making. It took us a year to launch a virtual exhibit. For those of you who don't know, we were supposed to have a 20 at 2020 exhibit last year. And then we all know what happened. This exhibit was supposed to launch in March, and then things happened, and we find ourselves in a situation where it's we know unforeseen circumstances. So we thank you for this opportunity to bring our work online and to share with the bigger audience. All right, so let's go ahead and start with. I'm just going to walk through a very brief history of Chinese brush painting. It is one of the oldest living arts in the world. It's been there since the 17th century BC. And Chinese painting, as we all know now today, actually evolved from calligraphy. In the olden days, only calligraphy was considered as one of the most intellectual arts. And flora and fauna and what we see now, those lanterns you see behind me, were not considered as mainstream art. When finally it got accepted to mainstream, the Chinese nobles were actually compelled to master the art, because those who succeed are given very high status in the society, because it requires a lot of practice. And later, as you will see in the demo, the artists who will be doing the demo, you'll see that the way they do it will look so easy, but in reality, it's really hard. It's hard to perfect that single stroke. So Chinese brush painting was traditionally done in black ink, but now you would see that colors are now more commonly used. So if you go to a museum and you happen to see old Chinese brush painting, you see that most of them are done in black or in muted colors, and we'll find out why. All right. So Chinese painting is considered one of the most fascinating and unique forms of art. It's very simple in spirit, in its concept and its execution. Later, when we go do a walkthrough of the gallery, you'll see that some of the paintings are actually really simple. Maybe a stalk of bamboo here, an orchid there, but it's really, really simple, but the impact is really profound. A single brush stroke is a defining move that forms part of the painting. The hardest part of learning Chinese brush painting is the moment the brush hits the paper, that's it. It's so hard to correct Chinese brush painting. And we rarely use sketches because of the nature of the paper that we're using. So artists usually visualize the paintings in their minds and transfer the image onto paper. Sketches are rarely used because we cannot erase it. And you'll find out why when I talk about the treasures of Chinese brush painting. And so the qi is a very important part of painting. It's actually the spirit, the breath, the vitality of all key aspects of painting. You need to have the proper frame of mind, as with all types of art, before you do Chinese brush painting. Otherwise, you're going to come up with, when you show your painting, oh, you were angry when you painted that, right? It's like you have to be in the right frame of mind. It has to have bone structure. You'll notice that some of the brush strokes on the paintings are stronger. So those stronger strokes are more pronounced and more powerful, and they represent stronger parts of the painting. The lighter strokes are very graceful. They're very airy. They're flowers, petals floating in the wind, or things like that. And that's done by just a single tool. And then likeness is correct. You draw the object as you see it, and there's no absolute rules in composition or realism. The sunflower you see right here on the slide right now, it could be part of a field of sunflowers, but the artist just chose to focus on those two flowers to highlight. So Chinese painting is like that. All right. And then moving on, colors, as I mentioned earlier, black is a primary color used, but in contemporary artworks, colors are now being used. Composition, balance is key. Okay, unlike other paintings where some artists are compelled to cover the entire canvas with colors, in Chinese brush painting, white spaces are considered significant part of the paintings. In fact, the white space, if you the painting that you see right now, if I cover up the inscriptions, you'll see that there's a huge white space right there on the left-hand side of the plum. This is where you actually put your inscriptions, which could signify a poem or an occasion or dates or where it was done. And actually, if I could direct your eyes to the lower right portion of the slide, you'll see the two chops there, the two red. Uh, those are signatures, and even the placement of those need to be planned out. Otherwise, your painting is done, your poem is done, then you put the wrong chop at the wrong location, boom. Or even worse, you put your chop upside down. So you have to make sure that you're putting the chop and make sure that you test it out first on scratch paper. And then the traditional way we learned Chinese brush painting was to copy the classics. Like we spent years and years just copying paintings of the masters. It's like if you're familiar with Karate Kid, it's wax on and wax off. You don't really know what you're doing. You just paint all these things without it. But at the end of the day, then you put things together, then it's all about muscle training, muscle control, and discipline. Once you know the wax on and the wax off, then you can fend off the attacks. Same thing with Chinese brush painting. Once you know how to paint the stroke, no matter where you are, you know how to do it. All right, moving on. Next, we have the four treasures of Chinese brush painting. So what are we considering the four treasures? This is actually a very fancy name for materials in Chinese brush painting. So the first important tool in Chinese brush painting is the brush. It's made of bamboo, and the bristles are usually made of animal hair. So as you can see here in the photo, there are different colors of the bristles. The black ones are harder bristles. They usually come from fox or horse. The white ones are softer. They come from rabbit. They come from soft furred animals. And there's a reason why these brushes are made of different bristles. The water content is vary depending on the type of the brush. So when you hold a Chinese brush, you don't hold it pen style. You hold it chopstick style. Okay. When used properly, a brush is capable of producing shades of variations of shade within a single stroke. And we're going to see that when we do our demo later. All right. The second treasure is the rice paper. Remember, I was mentioning earlier that the stroke is a defining painting. It's because of the paper that you use. Rice paper originated in ancient China, and it's used for both calligraphy and painting. The rice paper is usually very thin and translucent. If you cannot imagine that, if you look at tissue paper, it's slightly thicker than tissue paper. Imagine how to paint on tissue paper, right? So it's extremely absorbent and very, very likely to spread water. That's why an accomplished artist needs to be very careful in balancing the amount of water on the brush. Otherwise, when the brush hits the brush hits the paper, that's it. Shen paper is usually the most popular, but this becomes crinkly after the paint is applied. Therefore, we need to mount the painting. So when you mount the paintings, the painting you see before you already mounted, they're already smoothened out from we applied youth cream on them and smoothed them out. It's water to stretch them and then put them in backing, and then we put them in silk brocades. And mounted paintings are considered an art in and of itself. And scrolled paintings are mounted on thick paper backing with the silk lining around it. Okay. Moving on, the ink stick is what gives the paintings its unique pigmentation. It's made from natural materials. You can grind it on inkstone with water to produce ink, and it's usually part of preparation of the art. In the olden days, there were no ready-made ink. So you use the ink stick and grind it on the inkstone. And then when you get to the level of grayness you want, that's when you try to use the ink. And so you go back thinking about the chi. This is really important. Mixing the painting and producing the painting is part of the art. It's part of the discipline, because you got to make sure that you're in the right frame of mind. So it's very meditative. Okay. So it's passed down from generation and usually made out of slate. Moving on. So these are the four major themes in Chinese brush painting. We have landscape, flora, animals, and even people. And the basic subject of Chinese painting, the basic techniques are called the four gentlemen of Chinese brush painting, consisted of one, the bamboo, the orchid, the plum, and the chrysanthemum. These 4 techniques, they're very different, and we're gonna see them in the demo later. They represent different seasons. They symbolize the certain virtues, and they also have different strokes that, when you put together, forms the basic foundation of Chinese brush painting. So every student is advised to start with this set of skills, and mastering the 4 gentlemen will actually lead you to further advancement of the skills. All right, moving on. Right. So now we go into their live painting demonstration by Dr. Alex Chan Lim and Dr. Felix Chan Lim.
Good morning
Yeah, so
for those in Asia, and good afternoon for those in the US.
So I'm going to show I'm going to do my video. Okay, so I'll do my demo first. So I'll be doing a bamboo demo, and then Alex will do the others also.
I thought, happen.
Felix, we can't hear anything. Are you speaking?
Yeah, I'm not speaking anything. I'm just
Okay. All right, great.
No.
So Bobby, we have a question in the chat. Maybe you might want to address it as Felix is painting.
Sure. Let me go and open the Q&A.
Yeah, we have a question of how long has each artist been doing this art?
Oh, maybe Alex or Felix, did you want to jump in to answer the question? How long have you been painting?
So Alex, you want to?
Sure, hi. Sure. I think I can share. We started painting. I started painting when I was 11, and Felix started when I was 9. So I think there's more than four decades of paintings already. But of course, it's not an everyday thing. We do it mostly during summer and during weekends. But yes, it's been 40 years, 30 plus 40 years already of us doing painting.
So they started when they were kids, and they're only 20 years old. So.
Yep. Bobby, can you check the it's okay. Yep.
All right. So there's another question here related. Who taught you how to paint? So we each and thank you, Anita, for that question, and thank you for being here. So I learned differently. I learned from I learned from professors from Taiwan and China. I was painting before I met the family, but Alex and Felix might have learned a different way. So you might want to share that.
Sure. Yes, we started when I was 11. Felix was 9, and we studied with teachers from Taiwan every summer, and it took us around 4 to 5 summers of a few months. Every time it took us around 1 to 2 months time, and of course we studied eventually with other artists as well. But I think a main influence in our life was our dad, because he was also doing his paintings, but not on really Chinese painting, but mainly on Western arts. So the family started to paint, and then eventually, I mean, our dad, our wives, our children, and then eventually everybody else. So, and then it becomes a family affair. So, yep, that's it.
All right, feel free to type in your questions and we'll try to answer them as we go along. So Felix is just finishing his
Yes,
bamboo.
I'm drawing a bamboo. Now you notice the brush strokes are being done. Just a straight.
So there's another question. Are there any distinct regional differences in this art? Joe, can you clarify that a little bit? Yeah, you could type in your questions in Q&A as well.
Okay, so I'm done with the bamboo. This is one of the basics. So I've done a two type of bamboo here. Okay. Alex, you want to draw yours already?
Sure. Felix did the bamboo already, which is, as mentioned by Bobby a while ago, is one of the four gentlemen. It's one of the what we call the ADC, or the 1, 2, 3. You have to learn that one, and then I'll do an orchid. Okay, and I'll set up Jeff.
So while he's setting up, I
Okay.
see that there are some questions online. So thank you, Larissa, for that question. Is there a reference photo being used, or this is all from memory? It's a little bit of both. So the paint, Felix, you want to talk a little bit about the painting that you made?
Right.
Is that from memory, from photograph?
This one, of course, we could paint from photograph. We could do plein air. We could go outside and paint. But for paintings like this, usually it's from memory. So most of the Chinese painters, they go out, view sceneries, do sketches, and some are from memory, and then to paint. Like for this kind of bamboo, usually it's from memory. So
Yeah. And that's why digital cameras or phones are a blessing, because we could take quick photos, unlike before when you need to bring films and you'd have to develop them. But now instantly you can take a photo. So Alex, you can see now, is painting an orchid. And I do have a question I believe I missed from Joe. Felix, did you want to talk about distinctive regional differences in Chinese brush painting? There was a question, are there any distinct regional differences in this art?
Okay, Chinese painting by itself, the basics are all the same. Distinct difference by region depending on the artist and the style that's were presented. If you go, it depends on the region, means depending on the artist. Like some traditional artists, Chinese painters colors are very different. But if you start some artists before, there's a certain style where some of the artists went to Japan and went to Western world. When they come back, so the style would change a bit because of the colors that's being used and the style and how they use the brushes. So there's not really distinct region, but depending on the style of the artist and the student that studies under the artist.
Okay, and then there's a couple of questions in Q&A. Oh, Sylvia's asking if you and Alex are brothers. And
yes, we are.
Yes, and was there competition, or was it supportive to learn cultivate as a family experience?
It's not really, because we, like Alex and me, were painting together. We study with the same teachers, so we end up choosing subjects. We learn the same thing, but we end up like choosing certain subjects that we want to paint more and try to specialize in. Like there's certain subject that me and Alex would always paint together, like plum. The rule of thumb is I would always paint the trunk and the branches, and Alex would always paint the flower. That's how we try to work together as an artist. So then he would paint more on orchid, I would paint more on bamboo. So but it doesn't mean that we don't paint that, but when we're doing things as a family or between me and Alex when we were younger, we would specialize on certain subjects.
Mhm. And in addition to that, that's also how we got the younger generation involved. It's there's three generations of artists in our family, starting from my from the paternal from the dad to the brothers, and then to the kids, to the nephews and the nieces. We This is kind of like the things that brings everyone together. They would have different tastes, they would have different, but when it comes to painting, they know that this is kind of like the medium that the entire family gets involved in. And then for Brian, how did Chinese brush painting evolve through the dynasties? What are the differences between Han and Yuan dynasty?
Oh, that's a little bit more history thing. uh, it would be okay. On the gist, there are different styles being done through the years. Okay, I'm not really a history professor on that one, but just to go through the history of how China traditionally it started mostly with calligraphy, and then it went into landscape. Landscape painting is considered the king of paintings before, and not this kind of flowers and fauna. It's calligraphy, and then it goes into landscape, and then there's they're all almost done through the aristocratic people, the people, noble people supposed to be painting them because that's one of the requirements. And then it passed through the generations already. There's then it goes into some changes because of the styles of paintings, the colors, and it branches out into different type of subjects already.
Mhm. So, Brian, if you notice, if you're a huge fan of Chinese art, you probably have gone to museums. And when you see the older paintings, they're very detailed, very outline method, and the colors are muted. So,
Right.
one of the key evolving factors in the Chinese brush painting realm is the use of colors. More contemporary paintings are now using brighter colors, unlike before. It's more earth tones, more muted colors, and plus there's been a major change in some of the different styles that are being applied. There are certain Chinese brush painting has branched out into like the Lingnam style or the other kind of like quicker style of brush painting, non-traditional Chinese painting. So that's kind of like how the art evolved throughout the dynasties.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think Alex could draw the plum already.
Mhm.
Sure. I'm done with my orchid painting. I'll do the third one, which is the plum blossom. Okay. And then I think Felix will do the last one, which is the chrysanthemum.
So plum blossoms are actually extremely popular topic in Chinese brush painting. And now one thing to note when you're painting plum blossoms, if you want it blooming, you cannot paint leaves on it. Because when plum blossoms bloom, there are no leaves. When the leaves start to come out, the flowers are gone. Felix, is another related question. Are there different art periods, themes that appeared throughout history from Joe? Did you want to address that?
What was the question again?
Are there different art periods or themes that appeared throughout history?
I'm not that familiar with that. Um, Most of the themes are landscape. There's a certain period where they're painting more of sceneries of people. Uh, 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 they do more. They're still landscape. There's called landscape painting, but they do more instead of just painting sceneries of rock. They integrate more paintings of people lives, like houses with people and a normal livelihood of people. There's a time frame on that one. I'm not that
And then there
familiar.
was also a time that they focused on portraiture, mostly
Yeah,
people, yeah,
yeah.
portraits. And then, as I mentioned earlier, in the olden, when it started, it's basically just calligraphy. It's just calligraphy is the art, and then it evolved, and most of the flora fauna, the way we see it now, got went to mainstream. And so you can see Alex finishing his trunks. Okay, we'll um There's another question. What type of paint is Alex using?
Oh, I could. We are for Chinese painting. We usually use water-based colors. So they're basically watercolors. There are traditional Chinese painting colors, but we could use a watercolor now as a replacement. There are reasons for using traditional color because of the mounting and the paper, but current type of watercolor should be good enough already.
Mhm. So if you're intending to study Chinese brush painting, you don't really need to go and get a specific type of paint. You could actually use regular watercolor, water-based paint. I hope that answered the question. And then we have another one from Brian. Was Chinese brush painting influenced by Japanese brush painting or the other way around? I think he's referring to Sumie.
I think, okay, it started with Chinese brush painting, and then it got because there's some Japanese painting, there's Korean painting also that use the same type of process. But looking to the history, the Chinese brush painting is the longer one, so it's more of the influence. But some of the Chinese brush painting were influenced when artists started going to Japan to learn some of the other techniques. So they brought in some of the colors that are different. So it helps build its other, but the traditional brushstrokes are still the same.
So yeah, so you'll see a lot of, if you're learning both types, Sumie and Chinese brush painting, you'll see that there's a lot of overlaps between the two types of art. But they use essentially the same type of materials. All right. Yeah, if you have any question, please feel free to type them in our Q&A. Oh, someone's asking if we're gonna be having a certificate of attendance from San Jose State, MLK Library. I think Emily might be the one answering that.
I could. I think we can, if anyone is interested in something like that, to please contact us. We do have a registration list, so we can verify attendance in that way.
So yes, you could get a certificate of attendance from the MLK Library. So please let them know.
So Bobby, I have a question. So I mean, so are you all sort of teaching your children, or do your children, do you take them to, are there sort of elder teachers in the Bay Area that are teaching this, or are you the teachers?
So we've taken them for, so it's both. Well, it's the eternal proverb of, a prophet is not welcome in your own home or something. It's difficult to teach your own children because we tend to be, being who we are, we tend to be a little stricter on our own kids than other, so we take them to see, because so that way they can learn from other styles. We do teach them, but we do take them to other classes so that they could get exposed to other styles of other approaches to Chinese brush painting. But for the most part, it's we paint together, they see our style, so it's mostly they learning from us. It was easier before when we were with family because they don't only learn from us, they learn from their uncles and the grandfather as well. But now it's because we live here by ourselves, it's just me and Felix.
Thank you.
All right. And there's another question. Can we talk about the ink use and the colors? Because they see distinct colors in Alex's painting with orange and reds. So maybe Felix, you could talk a little bit about the mixing of the colors.
Yeah, if you
we could show them the ink plate.
Okay, I could show you my ink plate. This is my ink plate that I used to paint. So you notice I mix a lot of colors. Mm-hmm. So Chinese brush, the main thing is controlling the brush and controlling the mixing of colors within the brush. So I'm showing you my bamboo paintings where I mix colors, layers of colors within the brush to create the single effect that when you do paint a single blade of bamboo leaves, there's shades of colors that goes in. So we layer the brush with colors and we control the water to create the effects.
Mhm.
So that's the key with Chinese brush. You don't overlap. So with one single stroke, you ensure you put in the proper shadings, the proper strokes to give the effect of like for my bamboo, I have to ensure I have one side that's dark, one side is light. So this is done with a single stroke. So you balance your brush with the water.
Felix, if you want to bring your the bamboo a little closer to the camera so that they can see the variation in the color of that single stroke, the trunk, and then there you go. That's a single stroke, but it has two different, very varied shades of green. And the same with Alex too. Alex, did you want to bring your plum
Then
closer? A
I
little?
you-
Yeah,
I
so
show
the variation. Yeah,
the
there you
orchid first,
go. Mhm.
Okay,
and then
so I think you can see the color.
Yeah, they can see the colors, I believe.
Yeah.
So I hope that helped. Yeah, so it's you don't overlap it, Anita. The single stroke has to have all the colors that you need, and that's why it's very essential to plan what colors you want your flowers to come out with.
okay,
Oh,
Bobby, I'm done with my plum blossom.
sure. Okay.
Okay,
I think
good.
Felix is gonna draw while he's preparing for his next demo, the chrysanthemum. There's another question here. I'm not sure if this is have you ever created paintings for major events in your personal lives? Yes, we have. We do they do commission paint. We do commission paintings. Major events in our personal lives, we do. We were just chatting about it earlier. When you go into in the VR demo, you'll notice on the walls in the VR room that there are huge family paintings. These are what we call their collaborative paintings, the joint paintings that everyone in our entire family will work on. So since we don't live in the same geographic region, if we know that we're going to be traveling to where they are or we're meeting in a country as a family, we plan a day, at least a day or a couple of days to draw a to come up with a painting to commemorate us being together on that day where we are. So we do plan that. So on the day, like for instance, when everyone comes over here to the Bay Area, we plan a day. We tell our nieces and nephews, we're not going to go outlet shopping. We're going to paint for the entire day. No Disneyland today. We're going to be painting. So we do commemorate them. And there, especially when my father-in-law had his 80th birthday, that was a big celebration. We wanted to honor him with a collaborative painting. That was done. Instead of a photograph, do you have any paintings? Brian, what did you mean by that? Can you please elaborate?
Bobby, so I could paint something now, right?
Yes, go ahead.
I think we still have time, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Bobby, I think a good example is my background. I think
Yes.
it's a painting done by the entire family, and that painting is a different kinds of fruits.
Mhm.
Those were not just any kind of fruits, but those are the fruits that we have grown in our backyard, in our garden. Those fruits can be found in our studio, in our studio. In fact, we have fruits on what we call suha, or called the pomelo. We have rambutan, we have langka, and in the U.S. they have grapes, they have pomegranate, they have berries, they have different. So my background is all the fruits that we have painted, and all the family members collaborated on that one. Each one painted at least one fruit. The youngest one painted the most simple one, which are the berries or the strawberries, And of course, our dad, he painted the basket, which holds the fruits together. So yes, every year we try to paint one as a family painting. Last year we did it already, but this year I think will be a tough one to do it given the situation that we're in right now.
Okay, I'm drawing an outline chrysanthemum, but then I'll draw a different one.
Oh, yeah. Instead of a family photo when someone turns 18, did you instead paint them or you create a painting with the meaning of coming of age? So thank you for that question, Brian. Yes, we do. Not all the years though. So, but we do have, like, I myself has my father-in-law gifted me with a painting of me and my daughters to commemorate when they come to a certain age. So yes, so we do that. Not all the time though. How do you decide which family members gets to join the painting at their home? Yes, so that very good question. When do we how do we divide the spoils? You know, how do we, like, the painting in Alex's background? Why did he get to keep them? And so how do we decide? I haven't really thought of that, Alex. How do we?
Well,
It's
it's quite. I think the ruling is quite simple. The youngest one always paints the
oh no, no, Alex. I
simplest
think
subject.
yeah, I think I think the question was who gets to keep the painting once it's done. How do we?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
We've never, it's usually like, oh, we like this. Can we keep this? So it's yeah. There
in
was
fact, it's. I think it's distributed between the U.S. and here, but majority, of course, are here with us. But it's just everywhere. No, I think we have collections from a lot of different places already. But the family paintings that we have done stays with the family. Some of them are with Felix and Bobby in the U.S. Some of them are with us here. It's just somewhere, no. But I think every year we try to make new ones. And of course, the latest one is the one that you can see at the background. It's a fruit painting. Of course, we have done paintings on birds, paintings on flowers, paintings on just different kind of subjects, landscape, etc., etc.
yeah. And then there's a comment from one attendee. Thank you, Marcelino Co. Very comprehensive and informative Chinese painting presentation. And he's thanking you. And they're hoping that
Well,
there will be more of
thank you,
these
Marcelino.
webinars. Yeah.
I think Bobby. I think it's his birthday today.
Oh,
Marcelino.
happy birthday!
Yeah, it's his birthday today.
He's a friend of the family, I guess.
Yes. It's a
Thank you
scout,
for
you know.
coming.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you for celebrating your
Marcelino, if
birthday
you were
with us.
only here beside us, you can get one of our paintings. Unfortunately, you're not.
So what I'm doing here is I technically created two different type of chrysanthemum painting just to show different styles.
So these are two styles of painting the chrysanthemum. One's an outline method and the other is stroke by the strokes. So do you teach classes, and if so, how much is it in overall including? So we do run regular classes at Stanford University. We run a couple of classes. We have one ongoing right now on landscape, and then the other one's going to open in the fall. In the fall, it's going to be on peonies. It's a 5-week class, and you probably need to check on at the Stanford Continuing Studies website. They would have that open sometime in the summer. Yes, we do teach classes. Thank you for that question. Mhm. Thank you, Sylvia. Sylvia's saying that she's in awe of the single stroke. So beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Isabel's asking, do you have virtual classes or all in person? Thanks, Isabel, for coming. We are currently holding virtual classes due to the current situation. So the class in fall is going to be virtual. Yes, you could, if you plan to join it, you can. The classes are going to be, I think it's going to start in September, Felix, is that correct? September through October, I think, until before Thanksgiving. Larissa, how do the lanterns get painted? These demonstrations are all flat. Ooh, good question. It's a sphere. It's very, very different because when you're painting on a sphere and your medium is water, it's gonna drip. So yeah, it may not be a great media for demoing, but maybe that could be a good subject for next time. It's hard because you need to make sure that you're painting just the right with the right amount of water, and that the paint it doesn't drip. And then plus you need to hold it at a certain angle. And we produce about 70 and 80 of them, so you'll see them later.
So the lantern is a little bit different because it's not really done on water, but done on a silk cloth.
Yes.
So the control a little bit different.
It's hard.
So you notice I've drawn a one-stroke painting and I'm drawing an outline, and I'm coloring it back with the color just to show you a certain technique of an outline method.
So this is for Alex and Felix. Emily just posted that she said that she loved the composition and the white space is really powerful.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Emily.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. In fact, the white space is an important part in Chinese painting. If you look at, I think the main difference between Western painting and Chinese painting is Chinese painting, we really talk about white space. We really talk about techniques and strokes. Western paintings, everything is filled up with colors, And of course, you can, if there's something wrong, you can do something about it. You can still paint on top of it. But Chinese painting is all about precision. Every stroke is very precise. Then once you make a mistake, that's it. Yep, I think we have all the 4 gentlemen already. Felix, would you like to put the bamboo beside the chrysanthemum so our audience could see the?
They have the complete
So these
set.
are the 4 gentlemen. You have the bamboo. Yep.
The bamboo, the orchid.
My camera is not. This is a bamboo, and then there's a chrysanthemum. There are different types of chrysanthemums, right? There are variety, the crossbreed of different types. So we just draw a basic one and then draw a single stroke one.
And this is in combining them. They usually are called the 4 seasons as well. There's someone who asked, have we ever tried using oil paint? And what could be some difficulties adjusting to a new type of paint? We have.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Yes, we have.
You can use oil paint and try to mimic a Chinese brush stroke technique. You can on oil, but you lose the effect of brush strokes. Right? You lose the effect of controlling the water because you're just adding pigment on top of your pigment. Yes, you can. It's hard to use a Chinese brush with an oil because you end up damaging the bristles. So you end up using normal oil painting brushes, but it's you can do that, but the effect is different. The key for Chinese brush is the brush, and the paper is a very absorbent paper, so the water will start to spread pretty fast. And then you try to control it to create the effect. We use watercolor because we want the color to be a little bit transparent. If we use oil, the color is opaque, right?
Okay, so Felix, I just want to let you know the Flora's here with us today. So she just posted something on Q. It's not really a question, but she said that she started to study Chinese landscape painting and that she really liked it. So thank you, Flora, for coming. She's one of our current students at Stanford.
Okay, so I think we're done with our painting, right? And then,
yep.
So we could go to the next one already.
Okay, hold on. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen and introduce Can you all see? So we are now going to go through another one of the exciting parts of our of our workshop today. So Mr. John Oakes, our partner in crime, is going to lead you through a virtual reality demonstration of the art exhibit spaces. So yeah, take it away, John.
Great, thanks. Hi, everybody. And I got to say, I've been looking at these lanterns for a year, and I now appreciate them so much more after learning a little bit about it. So it's really cool. So yeah, I wanted to, let's see here. I'm going to share my screen, and I kind of wanted to explain how we got here, because it is a little bit of a story. Because I've never actually met Bobby or Felix or Alex or anybody, or even seen one of these lanterns in real life. I've never been there. So we had to figure out how we were going to create an environment that would let you all see these lanterns and experience them in 3D, because you can see a picture, but then you only get one side. You wanted to see the composition from all sides and see the themes and share and talk about it online, even though we're apart. So we decided to use a technology called photogrammetry, which is taking a bunch of individual pictures and building a model of the lanterns. So Bobby and Felix came up with this idea to create a little turntable. And what we did was they made these videos of just, minute, 20-second long videos rotating each lantern probably 2 or 3 times, because sometimes we had to redo it from every angle. And then which is really clever. And then I was able to extract the frames, the individual still frames, and bring them into the software that we use. And what you get is, when you take all of these individual frames, you can see all the blue dots around the lantern are the different frame positions that we use to create the model. And you can actually see the individual frame of each picture as you go around, and it goes around and it goes around, and it slowly puts together the model using the software to figure out how to recreate the lantern as it was. And then so we did that for almost 70 different lanterns, and we were then able to put it into the virtual environment. We used software called Mozilla Hubs, which is made by Mozilla. They make Firefox browser, among other things. And then we created this virtual environment that has 7 different themed galleries with 10 lanterns each. Kind of a central theme one, along with 9 others. In each gallery, you can walk around with your browser. So you can just access this like a web page. You don't need virtual reality equipment or anything special. You can even access it on your phone. If your phone is fairly new, you can access it that way. And this is a social app. So what I would like to do is, if anybody feels brave here, I am going to copy a URL, and I'll put it in the chat. And let's see, where's my chat? There it is. To all panels and attendees. There. So there's a link now in the chat, and if you click on it, you can come in here to this gallery with me. And this is true for the links that are on our website, that on the exhibits website that Kathy posted. And one of the great things about this approach to doing it this way is that now you can get together maybe with the artist or with people who know about these things, and can chat about them and talk about the lanterns, or just talk about your day. It doesn't even have to be about that, but you can go to each gallery and see what it has to offer, and look at the art. The 2D art came out really well. You can get really close to it and see all the detail. And now I know a lot about the brushstrokes, which I never really contemplated, that there was only really one stroke, you know, for the design. That makes it a lot cooler. And then you can go around each lantern and look at it, you know, from all the different angles and see how it's going there. There's Leslie. I've got my my environment muted so we don't get echoes, but basically y'all can come in and look around. And in a few of the rooms, what Bobby likes to call is a secret room. If we go in there, there's for a few of the rooms you can go in there, and we've made some of the lanterns interactive, which means you can actually pick up the lanterns and look at it. You can move it around, and you know, everyone can have a copy. You can even, you know, kind of play with them a little bit if you want. Doesn't hurt anything because they're not going to be injured. And then when you're done, you can go back to the main gallery. And other things, there's some really nice music that is different in each gallery that you can turn on and listen to while you're there. And there's also kind of a slideshow around each theme that you can watch and learn a little bit about the technique. So lots to do. So we hope you will have a chance to go in and look at each of the lanterns. I recommend doing it on your computer if you happen to be one of the people that have a virtual reality device. It'll work with Oculus Quest or, you know, any PC VR. It might even work with some of those like Google Cardboard holders that you use your phone with, but it might be a little hard to navigate in those. But you know, give it a try and see what you think. And we'd love to hear your feedback, good or bad, because we'd like to do more of these kinds of things. And I'm always interested in what people like to do in these environments, because it's something that's I'm very interested in. But yeah, it's been an amazing project, and it took a little while to get done, but hopefully y'all will enjoy it. And it's now here. One of the nice things too is it's here for all time. So we will be archiving this and preserving it. So for hopefully, you know, years and years, people will be able to come and visit these lanterns and find out a little bit about them. So let's see. So I think somebody put it in chat for navigation. There's a couple ways to get around. If you have a mouse, if you're on a PC and click on your right mouse button, you can make this little circle appear. It's your teleport circle, and you can zap around and just go right to where you want to be. The other way to go is just use your keyboards. The W, A, S, and D keys are kind of like your joystick for moving around. So you can move forward and back with W and S, and then side to side with A and D. And then you just use your mouse to look around like you're moving your head. On your phone, I think you just use use two fingers to move around like you're scrolling through a web page.
So John, if you can move towards the page where we can see the painting on the wall. I think
Sure.
Emily's asking how were the wall paintings captured for representation? So the wall paintings are a little bit easy because they're 2D. So
Yeah.
it's easy to capture a photograph. And in fact, this one, the painting that you see here, I think this is 10 feet by, how big is this, Alex?
Wow, it's a huge one.
This is a huge painting.
It's a mural. It took us 30 years to complete it. Yeah.
30 years?
30,
well,
30. Because
Oh
we
my
started-
gosh.
No,
They
it,
started
It
it,
took us 30 years, right?
no,
they
it,
started when they were 2.
no,
So
just
No,
to
no, no.
clarify, we didn't took that long.
did,
We
yeah.
started painting it, but we never finished it, and then we finished it again. So, but we did this when we were still very young. Me and
We
Alex
just
were
finished
very-
it.
So which part was done when you were 11 and which part was done?
I think
So go ahead.
Most of the painting are done, but of course, if you notice the plum, there are a lot of flowers, the leaves, there are a lot of them. We just have to complete the whole thing together. But we've done this for a long time. We forgot about this one until Alex found the painting.
in
And then,
storage.
then in storage, and then we decided to finish it. So there's a year, we finished it in 2018, right?
18.
Eight-
Mhm.
18.
Okay, I have a question because I worked on this, but I spent many hours in this gallery, and I couldn't put this in Google Translate, and I wanted to know what this said. Can anybody read that? Can I get close enough for
Oh,
anybody to
if
read
you
it?
want to-
I think yes. I think I can do that one. Li Cheng, that means our journey. Okay.
Mhm.
金山古木美居松. I think this refers to the pine tree, the old branches, the plum blossom. Okay. This talks about us, the family, particularly the brother. It talks about that of course we have 学业经验打高峰. It means that we have took our education to highest degrees. Of course, we have our graduate studies done already. 画笔生妙情意情，35战场. Well, you know what, John? Whatever I say, you won't understand it. Anyway, it only means that, well, John, it took us 35 years to complete this one. Okay. So last 2018, June of 2018, when Felix came to the Philippines, he was there for, it took a week time. He stayed with us for a week. The painting was 80% completed, was complete already. And then we totally forget about it. And it was 2018 June that we say, why not, early part 2018, we said that, why not let's do something, about this one. Of course, after we do it, we have to think where we're going to display, because this is a huge painting. Security, how will you send it, logistics, whatever thing. So Felix spent a week in the Philippines. So we completed. So we asked our dad to compose us a poem. And the poem means the journey that the brother has taken. Took us 35 years. Finally, we completed it. And Felix wrote the Chinese calligraphy. And there's two chop there. There's two red chop below. It is the first chop goes to me, the second chop goes to my brother. So this is it, So it talks about our life, our journey, and we were glad that we have it completed. And finally, we got to keep the painting. Finally, thanks, John, that you help us out, display it, let other people see it in a very easy manner.
Right. So the actual size is about 20 feet by 4.5 feet.
Mhm.
Yep, it's a 2 feet height and a 20 feet width. It's quite a huge one. And while we were painting this one, we were not sitting or anymore. We were, we have the painting on the floor, and we were really standing on the painting because we have to move around.
No, you guys were on a ladder because you needed to see it from the top, right? Remember that?
Yes, we have to climb up the roof, look down, to have a better perspective, So
Right. So there's another
fortunately,
question.
we were much
Go
younger
ahead.
then,
Mhm. So there's another, what's the process for planning when we do collaboration painting, and do we work on a smaller scale first? So Felix, you're
Yeah.
usually the architect for the collaborative paintings.
Yeah, usually we discuss a subject like Alex mentioned. Suddenly we decided, why don't we paint something that's fruits? Because the fruit is done when Alex and the brothers' family came over to US. So we decided to paint something together. So I would usually do we send some topics that we want to paint. Let's say we want to paint fruits. So we start discussing how we want to compose it. And then usually me or Alex would do a quick sketch. Sketch means on just a paper. And then we would toy around with the idea. So idea is, how do we paint it? Because there are different artists that's going to paint it. So somebody has to do the composition. And then after the composition, then we discuss it with the family, and then they would paint which portion, and then we just do it as a family. If you go into the gallery, there's some painting there that are joint painting also, and it's the same thing. If we start to do bamboo, we have a bamboo painting that is joined as a family, but everything there is bamboo. But if you go into details, you will notice they're all done different styles because different artists do it differently. If you're very young, they just do it with a very simple stroke. But we compose to say, okay, we drew a couple of big bamboos, young bamboos, and then we start drawing them. So that's how it's being composed. It's in terms of trying to how do you compose the composition, the whole thing is it always starts with a small sketch and then we build from there. Like this one. This is one of the compositions.
Oh, this is the birds.
Right, the birds one.
Mhm. So there's another question. On the lanterns, given the circular canvas, did we draw the images first before painting? No.
No.
So you take the lantern and try to imagine.
There's a quick concept because you cannot.
Uh-huh.
It's a circular canvas, so you have some idea of where you want to be and start sketching this on a circular manner. We don't sketch on the lantern because you can't erase it. So we just do some sketching on a paper and then so that we know.
Imagine it.
Usually we don't sketch, but for a normal 2D paper, it's easier to see the composition. But if it's a circular thing, you at least have to know how to balance it because the area in the center has more space than the one from top and the bottom. So you have to ensure you have to balance the artwork.
Mm-hmm. And there's another question. How would you store the painting if you're in the process of finishing it?
We hang them. We usually hang paintings and leave them on the wall. And then we go back. Like when Alex and me and the brothers were painting before, we usually do a painting, we hang it on the wall, we look at it, we critique it, and then we put more strokes in. So usually collaborative painting takes longer. It's not only done with one sitting because it's done by different artists. So we hang the painting. So these are paper, so it's easy to just hang them.
Mm-hmm. Well, since most of the paintings are in scrolls, it's easy enough to store them. Unlike most Western paintings, they have to be on frames, so they're a little bulky. But for Chinese brush painting, because they're in scrolls, it's a little bit easier to store them that way.
And these are lanterns. You could fold them. So it's
they're actually collapsible. They're
collapsible lantern.
Yeah, we could collapse them. And yeah, there, as Sylvia was saying, that can't wait until future exhibit when library opens. Yes, we will be trying to do that. And hopefully you'll see all you see here virtually on the 5th floor of the MLK library in sometime in the future. We do hope to be able to bring the actual exhibit there from our original plans.
Yeah, and certainly we hope to be able to host you again and certainly to display some of the lanterns so that we welcome students back into the library with this beautiful piece of work. So it is impressive. I can't imagine how many, did you guys make mistakes on any of these lanterns? Because I imagine that, I think I heard that once you made a mistake, that was, you were finished, right? You got to start all over again.
We do have mistakes, but we won't tell. But but we do have, if we do have major mistake, we have to throw away the lantern.
Yeah.
I think well, I think this question was always thrown to us. If we do make mistake, I think like what Felix has mentioned, of course we do. We're only human. But the only thing is, if we don't tell you and we don't act as if that we have done a mistake, you won't even know. Even though we make a mistake, if we're smiling, you think we're so good, right? So of course we do make mistakes, but I think we just know how to handle it.
How did you keep the lanterns open or spread, given that they do collapse? Did you have something to keep them open, or were you holding them so that you could?
Yes.
Oh,
You were
yeah.
holding them while you were painting.
Yes.
Wow.
That's why it's, oh yeah, it's double the air, because you need to hold the lantern at the same time paint on it. It's not easy. You yeah, you'll get cramps.
Wow.
And we did have assignments because I did promise Emily 70 lanterns 2 years ago. I said, okay, oh my God. When I told the family, you got to come up with 70 lanterns, they said, that's fine. It's 2 years. And then it's coming up, and oh my God, we only halfway through. And then, just like students, we cram too. So and I said, no, we got to come up with 70. That's what I promised. So yeah, eventually. So we had each our assignments, how many, but it's actually tough.
And then
In
one
fact,
of,
I think every time we do an artwork. For example, for this lantern, it took some time for us before it become reality. The reason for that is we have to make sure that everything we do can be duplicated by other people. Okay. For example, if we do it in paper, it's of course it's very traditional. It's been done every time. But when you do it in lanterns, when you do it in fans, when you do it in porcelain plates, those kind of things, it's not only about painting on that medium, but how will you display it? How will
Right.
you shift it? All those things. Bringing lanterns or big pieces of paintings to somewhere else, logistics wise, how will you do it? Can it be done by other people? How would they handle it? And all those things. So it took us some time
Mhm.
for a project before we implement it. Like for the lantern, when Bobby told us it's 70 lanterns final. That's of course all of us. There's no full-time artist in the family. We do it on the side. So the first thing is, do we have the time? Okay, when do they find time to do it? When is the last day? What topic, what subject will they do? We have to ensure that not all of us are doing bamboos. If not, it will not, I think it will be just a boring exhibit for all of us. So it took us time. So I think this the planning stage takes some time also. And after that, we give deadlines to all, by this time you have to submit, and then when they submit back, so we give it
Right.
to, let's say in this case it's Felix and Bobby for the US, so they have to handle all the others.
Right. So, Alex, I know that we only have a few more minutes, but if Grandpa's there, can you
Sure.
just say hi? I know he's camera shy, but can you just say hi to the audience after everything started with him? Is he there with you, Grandpa?
Yes, he is.
Can
Wait,
can you
wait.
pull him and say hi?
Let me ask my dad to say hi. To say
Yeah, say
yes, of course
hi.
he's there. In fact, the entire
He's
family is here.
yeah.
There's
We want to
everybody's
we
here.
Yeah, so we also wanted to take this opportunity to thank MLK because we actually celebrated my father-in-law's 80th birthday with this exhibit at the MLK library. So he was there during that exhibit as well. So if you could just say hi to everyone, that would be so cool.
I think that was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
4 years ago, right?
Is he going to be able to go on camera with you, Alex?
Yes, Kara is asking him right now.
Okay. His name is Jose. But I think he might. So he's yeah, he's
He's 84.
84.
Next year is 85.
So we'd like to celebrate his 90th too. Looking
Oh,
forward
yep.
to it. There he is. Hi, Uncle.
Yep.
How are you? There he is. Our granddaddy. No, don't leave. Here he is. He's camera shy.
In fact,
Hi there.
our dad is known as Angkong to everyone. Angkong means grandfather. So it has been a habit of all the students to call him Angkong. Some of them doesn't know what Angkong means. So no matter what age, he is Angkong to everyone. So I think very few people know his real name, but he is known in the art community as Chan Lim. And he's the real Chan Lim, and he's the only one, and he's the only Chan Lim, the real Chan Lim in the family. All of us are just descendants or whatever. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Uncle. Nice to see you. Big hugs.
So we have a few more minutes for any additional questions from the audience, if this is a chance to ask any final questions. We encourage the questions.
So yeah, there's someone who's saying hi to Hong Kong and the entire Chanlin family of artists. That's probably Baby. Hi, Baby Ruth, if that's you.
Hi, Babe Ruth.
Yes. Yeah. So there you have it.
So I guess if there are no further questions, I have to say, Bobby, like John, we were seeing the pieces of the lanterns, and we were seeing, and I certainly was seeing the rough drafts of the gallery and how things were coming along, and yes, this took a long time. This took a long time, a year to complete. We actually tried to get it out last year, but it just was not possible. And so I am thankful that we were able to get it up. And so thank you, John, for all of your time and effort. I know it took more than what you probably had thought it was going to take. And Bobby and Felix, again, I'm sure it took more than what you guys were thinking it was going to take. But it seems like you all enjoyed the experience, and we've all, and although yes, it would have been wonderful to have had it as a physical exhibit, but now we actually have it for the rest of our own sort of duration, as long as the platform exists, as long as what we have currently exists as technology. So so this is very and yes, very inspiring. So I again want to thank Dr. Bobby McConney and Dr. Felix Lim, Dr. Alex Lim, Tran Lim, and to Grandpa for teaching, right? Teaching the children, teaching the youth, and that's something that in our space of culture, it is important that we teach our youth what, so that we continue to breathe, so that we continue to live among our what is important to our voice. So I am again just incredibly thankful and honored to have been able to play host to this. I actually had the easy part to all this, but to John, to Leslie, to Mariah, they were key in really building this this exhibit. But of course, it's the family Chanlin, right? I mean, this is all you, incredible talent, incredible. I mean, I just think the dedication and the details to the art is magnificent. So thank you all, and so I hope to see then some of the lanterns in the library, but we'll see another exhibit coming soon. I am sure, at the library. So I think I guess we have no more questions. So if there's nothing else, we will thank our all the attendees who came and spent the last almost hour and a half with us. And thank you for your questions. Thank you for being part of this presentation. Please go visit the virtual reality exhibit and share the links with your friends. I think this is certainly something that you will be able to enjoy for a very, very long time. So we will say goodnight, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you also.
Thank you.
Bye.
Catherine,
Bye,
thank you
Uncle.
also.
Oh.
Thank you on behalf of the Chanlin
Thank you.
family.
Yeah. Uncle
Thank
wants
you,
to
John.
thank
Thank you,
everyone.
San Jose.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you also. Thank you all participants. Thank you.
Bye.